Look now at your road to the general elections in May 29th. United Democratic Movement has announced that its leader, General Bantu Holomisa, is the Eastern Cape Premier candidate. The party's deputy president, Nqabayomzi Kwankwa, says the move and idea was motivated by Eastern Cape traditional leaders, religious groupings, and civil society. The general joins us now to explain this decision. General, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. Is this representing a new era where we are no longer going to see you at a national platform, but largely seeing you at a provincial platform?
Currently, I'm campaigning in all provinces. Of course, if I succeed in becoming the Premier of Eastern Cape, then the President at national level, de facto, it would mean that Kwankwa, my deputy, must run with the ball, because there's a lot of work which needs to be done in the Eastern Cape, unfortunately. But I don't intend to work alone. I would like to see the concept of government of national unity, which we once had in 1994, being cascaded to the level of a province. In other words, irrespective whether I win or one party wins, but it cannot form a government.
Yeah.
We should be working towards uniting all those parties in parliament to form a government, thereby promoting the checks and balances as enshrined in our constitution immediately.
So others have read this to say that you have curtailed your presidential ambitions and are being realistic about what you're hoping to achieve.
I've never said I'm running for presidents in this country. But if you wish for me to do so, I can, because even those who are running for presidency today, as compared to what I've done in the past and in this country, I would qualify, but I've never done that. You cannot put Cyril Ramaphosa and Holomisa under the same roof and say we must debate the issues of the country, especially related to the ethics of good governance and corruption. Not a single member of the ANC can stand with me in any public platform. You know that.
So those who are saying this is your exit strategy, they are only dreaming. You are not about to exit anytime soon.
I wish this was my initiative. I would have been able to answer you. The initiative or the request comes from the civil society of the Eastern Cape, including ANC members, for your information, as well as those who voted for the ANC in the past. So in terms of exit, the UDM will decide as to when must I leave politics. If I'm still healthy and they are still interested in my services, I would do so. Right now, I'm campaigning in all other provinces, but more time will be dedicated to Eastern Cape.
What are the groupings saying that you can certainly bring for the people in the Eastern Cape?
I think the argument which started last year, the discussions which started almost last year, has sent us around that there is no discipline in that government. Secondly, that at one stage, Holomisa, you were in charge of the majority of the people of Eastern Cape, that is Transkei, where many people live in the Eastern Cape. And those people today are saying their lifestyle has been reversed in terms of there's no safety, there are no jobs, the infrastructure is collapsing, the roads are not maintained, the classrooms are not maintained, the education also is in tatters. There is just a breakdown of discipline. So I guess, therefore, that's what motivated what then, comparing what I did and what is happening now. Remember that Transkei was the only liberated, semi-liberated zone under us during apartheid. The so-called liberation movements, all of them in South Africa at the time, they had never liberated even a square inch of the land, militarily speaking. That's why they came back from exile carrying briefcases without even carrying pistols. Let us face the history.
Are you taking the idea of a government of national unity maybe at the provincial level, so to suggest that will there be a coalition arrangement, considering, of course, the party support currently where it's sitting in the province?
Well, we don't know about the outcome of the results of this forthcoming election. But one thing is certain, that the UDM, which has been betting on a wicket of anti-corruption from day one, has finally been vindicated through state capture, the findings by Zondo Commission. Which voter in this country would still want to reward people who have stolen state resources ahead of a party which has been telling the South Africans that these comrades in corruption are stealing the government monies? So let's wait for the results of the election. I have a feeling that this time around the UDM will get more seats. But it has never been our worry to, when we want to express or expose corruption, to base on how many seats we have. Tell me, what has those 268 MPs of the ANC done for this country, other than protecting when they are involved in corruption? You saw it on Cyril Ramaphosa, you saw it on Zuma. They were trying to do the same on the speaker. But because I was complainant number one, they had no chance, because I kept on asking police, how far are you with this investigation? Because I came to report it.
Do you see let me start here. I had a panel of some of the traditional leaders, and we were discussing how they are continuing to pledge their allegiance to the liberation movements in the past, and we've seen others even now, one or two of them, in some instances, even crossing floors. But when you look at that, do you see it as a threat to your success, where the traditional leaders, instead of viewing you as a significant option, they would still opt to support the traditional liberation movements and therefore sway the vote of the people that way?
Well, if I can share something with you, you must never rely on traditional leaders only. These are government employees. You remember, even under apartheid, they were attacked for supporting the apartheid government. Not necessarily that they were tacitly supporting the apartheid government, but they were government employees. They are still government employees as we speak. So you will find that some of the traditional leaders, notwithstanding the fact that they are government employees or paid, are in the payroll of the government, they still display their independent streak. So I don't have a problem with traditional leaders who would differ with us. I care less about that, but I'm more interested in developing the Eastern Cape, which I think everybody sees that it is collapsing in terms of administration as well as the infrastructure development. Eastern Cape used to be the fountain of education in this country, but you can't say that today. You look at the rolling out of the broadband in KZN. Eastern Cape, you still have the old classrooms with no systems. And whilst in the KZN, they have access to internet. Go to Eastern Cape, nothing. So must we fold our arms and be worried that so-and-so it belongs to a liberation movement? We're talking about making sure that we put an infrastructure which will be utilized by the future leaders of this country.
General, stay with us. Let's take a break. We'll come back and wrap up the conversation. The United Democratic Movement leader, General Bantu Holomisa, there saying, although he is campaigning nationally, but some groupings, civil society in particular, have approached him to certainly focus a whole lot more in the Eastern Cape, and that's exactly what he has opted to do as a premier candidate there. We'll speak to the General a little bit further in a moment. You can weigh in also tonight, 072 110 5584. Drop us an X at Newzroom 405. We are back with you tonight here on In Focus. General Bantu Holomisa joining me and explaining his decision to accept the role of focusing in the Eastern Cape province, and particularly saying administration has collapsed there and he plans to come back and bring administration back into the province. General, how do you, for example, one of the things, let me put it this way, that the Premier would have cited in his State of the Province address recently, which was his final one for this administration, is the 81.2%, if I'm correct, 81.4% pass rate of 2023. Are you challenging that record? Are you saying that record is not a reflection of progress year on year if you look at where it was sitting previously and where it is now? Or are you saying you can do better?
Well, I think we must not make a mistake. I've been in government before. When you inherit previous programs, you assess its weaknesses, and where you feel that there is a need for improvement, you do so. So if they are turning around the situation, we should commend the Eastern Cape government. But it was worrying that Eastern Cape, which was once a fountain of education in this country, was lagging far behind. So we congratulate them if they have reached 85% or whatever percentage. But what we need to do would be to look into the whole setup. Did the homelands as well as other townships, were they integrated in 1994 in the infrastructure of the developed South Africa? We start from there, and that would mean, therefore, that there will be a need to review the budget allocation. That province is vast, and we must not lie to the people of South Africa. We have to scientifically prove that budget we are receiving is worth receiving. Because I believe that the infrastructure of that area, because it was not maintained, has collapsed. Instead, it should have been integrated properly from 1994 onwards.
So 572 schools built of mud and inappropriate material were identified in 1994. So far, 232 have been built, while there are 200 more that were declared unviable. The province planning to spend 8 billion rands over the next couple of years to bring all schools in our province to a conducive state of teaching and learning. What are the pitfalls there?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you, other than that the question of classrooms, some of the schools have been closed down. They came up with an idea that they are reducing the schools, but the kids from those villages with the poorest schools transport, they have to walk long distances. Situation is becoming worse. Yes, I've seen some of the schools, they look like casinos, nice buildings, but there's no uniformity of classrooms in the Eastern Cape. Anyone can just come and take money and build those schools which are not good quality. But we will deal with that matter if we happen to be in government in Vision. So far, it's just a dream.
A healthier Eastern Cape, what does that look like for you?
What?
A healthier Eastern Cape in terms of the health. I mean, currently where the numbers are sitting and how you plan to improve the state of health of the people of the province.
During the COVID, it was embarrassing when the COVID hit the South Africa. I had to raise 700,000 rands for 32 health centers, including hospitals, to buy gloves and also the number of ITTs. So I am not sure if the infrastructure of those hospitals have been improved. So we would have to also prioritize that. And the government of the central government, we will remind them that the people of the Eastern Cape at one stage were in the forefront of liberating this country. And as a result, if you look at the allocation and the standards of the health services and the roads, one would doubt if it's true that these people were fighting to liberate South Africa. Why their homes are now lagging far behind.
One of the scariest things, General, and we've spoken about this, and I know as the UDM you also have a particular strategy of fighting crime. But over the past 5 years, 16,000 people were arrested for sexual offences in the Eastern Cape. 12,400 of those were convicted. We are seeing more and more people being not necessarily arrested, but murders being committed and investigations that are going on that are seemingly not bearing any fruit. 2,000 people arrested for stock theft, 700 convicted in the past 5 years. All painting really a picture of a crime seemingly escalating in that particular province. What's your big idea to deal with crime?
Well, I would have to sit down with the National Security Council, first of all, to get a bigger picture of what is the cause of crime in South Africa, not relying only on reading on newspapers. Sometimes the government doesn't tell you what is exactly happening, who is behind the crime, this crime. We hear rumors that people are associated with the powers that be. So one would have to get a thorough intelligence report before you come up with your plan. But the plan must also include investing in crime intelligence, because if you don't have information, you can't run a country or a province just depending on reading newspapers like Daily Dispatch. You need a hardcore intelligence, and the best way to do so is to budget for crime intelligence, where you know that in a village you have people who are going to inform the state what is happening there in townships and so on and so on. If you don't do that, you won't be able to come up with a plan to combat crime. Of course, the systems must talk to each other. If you are talking about trade and industry department, they must tell us what are their plans to create jobs in those areas. The same thing, we must ask the Public Service Commission, how many people are they planning to employ or fill vacancies? So we need a government which is operating. Right now, you get a sense that from union buildings down to the lowest level, that municipalities, there's no government.
I don't have to tell you, I'm sure you're well aware of what the pillars of the Eastern Cape economy are, but manufacturing particularly being one of them, and the automotive sector being one of those key areas. Is business coming on board? Are captains of the auto industry coming on board? Is government making business decisions that are favoring the province around that area?
Well, so far, I think the big business is closing down in some areas, precisely because of fearing that there is no stability in terms of crime, and that the infrastructure of the area is collapsing. The holiday resorts are suffering because of bad roads. So everything needs to be fixed in that province. And unfortunately, if the national departments are only focusing in Johannesburg, KZN, and in Durban rather, and Cape Town and Johannesburg, and forget about the rest of the country, we will all continue to have these problems. Currently, we don't even have an industrial policy by the trade and industry for the last 8 years. How many black industrialists have they produced? Instead, the BEE, which we thought it would be cascaded to the lowest levels, it turned out to be a policy of the elite, where they use the money of the ex-employees, like in the mines, as well as pensions of the ex-civil servants, to top up the so-called millionaires and billionaires. But they own nothing. The people who have benefited are the erstwhile oppressors of this country, who have used many blacks to assess money for pension, like Cyril Ramaphosa. He used the Alexander Forbes transaction. Alexander Forbes used to run the pensions of Transkei civil servants. Today, we say, please pay those pensioners. And he's running all over the show.
General, appreciate your time. We're out of time. Let's leave it there. Thank you very much for coming on. The United Democratic Movement leader, General Bantu Holomisa, will be the premier candidate for the party in the Eastern Cape.